Now we'll further move and try and understand that how can this be identified, right? So we'll talk about screening and identification. As per the RPWD Act, diagnosis of SLDs can happen only in or after 3rd grade or 8 years of age, whichever is earlier. We'll need to understand that screening is a process that can be undertaken for early identification for a child at risk. You can do the same in your classrooms by going back to the triangle and trying to sort of see what symptoms are prevalent in a student. This process is like getting your eyes tested, right, after regular complaints of headache or not being able to see properly. And this really helps us understand what are the challenges which are manifesting due to your disabilities, and access and accommodation can be provided according to the same. Remember that this has to be done in the primary language of a student.
It shouldn't be a market change going into college. So I think there needs to be screening. And also we now have, as I noted, we can screen adolescents and adults. And I think that needs to be done because when you use the word dyslexia, I would think that different people have in their minds a totally different image of what it is. And I also think that at the beginning of the school year, there should be a discussion of dyslexia for the whole university, however you group. What is it? How often does it occur? And that, the Sea of Strengths model. So
Right.
Don't be taken by the weakness, but see the strengths and try to encourage them and make sure there's people available who understand dyslexia and who can speak to the faculty over time. And one more, if I had a wish, it would be, and somebody, I think one of the earlier speakers mentioned it, parents are terrified of dyslexia. We have seen so many young people of a range of backgrounds, and the parents, oh, no. Let them go to the regular school, blah, blah, blah. So I think to help educate parents to be supporters and to understand and not be ashamed, whether it's they themselves or their child that is dyslexic.
Now, before we get into diagnosis, we need to remember something, which is that a student will not outgrow the disability. Dyslexia will persist in all forms of languages. So it's not possible that your student might have dyslexia in English and not in Hindi. Dyslexia will exist across languages. Now we'll talk about diagnosis. It's a formal identification of the disability, and it requires a pediatrician or a psychiatrist or a pediatric neurologist or a clinical or a rehabilitation psychologist to be able to do the diagnosis. The diagnosis has 3 steps, as you can see over here. The very first step is eliminating any kind of visual or hearing impairment, because that also can certainly lead to deficit in being able to process written language. The step 2 after that, once you've eliminated the possibility of having an impairment which is hearing or visual in nature, we move to step 2 where we do the IQ assessment. Here we need to figure that a student has average or above average IQ. Only after the first 2 have been done, we go to the 3rd step, and this implies doing a psychometric analysis for SLD and understanding the severity scale. You have to remember the severity scale. Once a benchmark disability is diagnosed on the severity scale for 40% and above, only then will you be able to get your UDID cards, and only then will you be applicable for any concession or any benefits in a government institute or a government aided institute as a person with disability.